Damn it.
DMX. X is going to give it to you.
X is, I don't know. X might get it given to him.
Excuse me?
In the clink.
In the where?
Well, you know what?
In the what?
I don't want to talk about it. This is, I mean, this is like going on vacation for him. He's been in jail so much, right? They're going to welcome him home. They're like, X, how you been?
I'm looking at this chart that we have, this graph.
Yes.
And DMX is not on here. Why are you going off the script?
Do you think this is a graph? I think you have the wrong thing.
This is a map of Davis. This is teaching me how to get home.
I think honestly, how long did it take you to figure out how to get home once you got to the new gym? How many times did you miss your exit?
A bunch of times. Yeah. I ended up at the.
I always love. He's like,
I ended up in the parking lot talking on the phone for like 20 minutes.
And I was like, oh my God. I'm gonna just come over to my house. Follow me. I'm like, fuck that. What's your address? And just type it into Google because he's the worst. And he's got all these just like awful shortcuts. And I'm like, I don't understand where we're going. I get on a red light. He goes faster. It's the worst.
He's the worst because when he gets lost, he just says, "What laws? Fuck you guys."
But I think we can all agree that our driver in Ohio was by far
that guy was great.
The worst driver I've ever seen.
Listen, we're dying. We need coffee.
Oh, I got a place for you.
He's like, I got a place for you guys. I got a special spot for you guys. He's like, it's right across the street there. It's hometown for Columbus, Ohio. And we were like, Wendy's?
You never had a cup of coffee until you had Wendy's coffee.
Charlie's like, Wendy's coffee's got to taste like shit. He's like, take us somewhere nice.
And they took it. It's like, oh, well, you want to eat? I'll get you a nice steakhouse. We'll get you a steakhouse.
Texas Roadhouse.
That was closed.
That was
closed and looked like it had been closed for years at that point.
I told the guy, I was like, how about you take us somewhere that's fucking open? And he's like, yeah. He's like, we can do that. And then he takes us across the street to like Outback or something.
And then, do you remember the waiter came over and was like, hey, just to let you know, your driver's at the bar. We're like, okay, cool. Like he's just having some food. He's like, well, he did have a drink, and I know.
Yeah, we're looking at him.
We're like, oh my God! It's like you were bad already. Like I can't imagine.
And remember, he was like telling us stories, like a former police officer, and then as he got to know us more, and as he got more and more annoyed with Charlie trying to show him pictures while he's driving on the freeway 90 miles an hour.
That was insane.
He's like, oh man, I would love to see what it looked like if you boys got tased.
Right. Remember,
we were like, and then the car got real quiet after that.
But then Charlie was like, can we do that? He's like, I can take you over to
we can have a hell of a time. He was all excited.
That was so frightening.
Dude, what's up with DMX? He's in jail? What happened?
I didn't know he was out of jail. So this is all really big news to me. Apparently he
failed the drug test. That's a shocker.
That is a shocker. I mean, I think the last drug test he failed was for meth. So what's after
he was
meth?
on probation?
Like what's below meth?
He was on probation for tax evasion.
That makes sense too.
And all the nasty shit that guy's done. He's just not paying the government enough, and that's what they throw him in jail for.
I think it's great. I mean, there's probably a lot of other things he should have been thrown in jail for. So, I mean, to get him on tax evasion is kind of the Al Capone way of doing things, right?
I still don't believe J.P. Price's story that he met him.
and then he just growled at him. And it was a Burger King. That's
what he said.
And it had to be, I mean, where's JP? JP lives in...
he's in Kansas, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, why would DMX be in a Burger King in Kansas?
I don't know.
And I don't think JP lives in a thriving metropolis of a Kansas City. I don't know what other.
I don't know.
So, I mean, it's got to be just in the middle of nowhere.
What's up to him, and he said, grrr, back.
It's about as believable.
He did warn me, though. He warned me. He's like, you're not going to believe my story. And
about as believable a story as it can get, I suppose. I mean, just as bad as our 50 Cent fish handshake in Gold's Gym.
And we were so pumped to meet 50 Cent. And then after that, we were like, well, we're never going to listen to your shit again.
Was it at the height of 50?
But his shit's so good, we still have to listen to it.
But you can't dead fish somebody.
Oh my
so
God.
For you guys at home, handshake should be like so.
Yeah, you kind of get in there.
You can't do this because that's almost like please kiss my hand or dead fish, and it just feels weird, especially if you're going to try and really get in there. And thanks so much, man. Yeah. I like what you do.
I hate at the expos when you go to shake someone's hand.
I didn't know what I was going to say to him, but I couldn't say anything to him when he dead fished me.
We were like, oh.
Yeah, I think that was my exact reaction.
Yeah, we were like,
thanks for that.
I was like, no matter what, I'm going to go over to him, just fucking shake his hand, tell him he's great, because I just have to, because he is great.
And you didn't say anything.
And then he killed us.
It was the worst. Absolutely the worst.
But at those trade shows, it's so disgusting because you go to the Arnold and you go to the Olympia and you go to all these things and everyone's it's just a free for all, like in terms of people sweating their ass off and people being gross and sweaty and fat and eating protein bars, having protein samples and just brewing up
and
the
a bunch
worst
of pre-workout,
brewing up the worst farts and worst shits ever. I'm sure everyone's hands are not pristine, not clean, right?
No.
So you shake a lot of hands, which is just kind of gross anyway.
Yeah.
But we run into a lot of those sweaty palm deals. How do you get your palms to sweat?
I don't even know. I have no idea.
There's vomit on my sweater, mom's spaghetti.
Yeah, I think
your hands are all clammy. I don't know what happens.
I mean,
you're thinking about rapping in front of everybody?
Yes, man. I mean, are we that important that it's going to make someone flustered to shake our hands?
I guess.
I don't know, but it is.
But the handshake thing is just, it's an awkward thing going on. And it's like, they come over, they're like, hey, Jesse Burdick, what's up? And then they shake your hand and then they conversate with you and then they act like they're leaving. And so they'll give you another handshake and they'll say, oh, this is my buddy, John. He's a big fan too. Then you shake his hand, then you shake his buddy's fat, disgusting hand. And it just keeps getting worse and worse. And then they're like, all right, man, see you later. And then they give you one more handshake.
Yeah.
It's like, man, I shook your hand like 4 times. I shook your buddy's hand. I just fucking made my rounds.
That's why we were just trying to, hey, it's so...
The old fist pound.
Just try and, get at least amount of skin contact as possible.
Whip out the elbow.
Just like, here, there you go.
Yep.
Good for you.
But what about the guys that go in like they're trying to, it's like a test of strength. It's like their chance to show us how strong they are.
And then,
this is my fucking opportunity.
I have a big hand, but I don't have the biggest hand in the world. So I get a lot where people are just like,
oh, they grab your fingertips.
Fingers,
yeah, and you're like, give me a do-over, you bitch.
Get in here and let's really do something.
Yeah, like let's try
aiming for the thumb.
Can we try that again? You fucking,
I know.
You ripped me off.
It was bad. It's bad. And then you're just like, and then here, grab my fingers. There's nothing more like, hello there.
And they squeeze the fuck out of it like it's a competition, like it's a grip competition.
It is. So now, with all that being said, is there anything more gross than hyper overextension pants burping into his shirt while trying to talk to you?
Oh yeah, Mr. Hyper Overextension Pants.
Yes.
I wish we had a photo of him for a long time.
I still have that picture somewhere.
Oh my God, we're going to have to put that on this podcast. Where is that guy today? We'll have to block out his face.
Yeah, I think so.
Now he's got to be dead. he really looked unhealthy. He had like a 60-inch waist, at least. He can't be alive.
My God, that's the worst thing I think you've ever said.
He has to be dead, right? Mr. Hyper Overextension Pants, if you're listening, either from the grave or otherwise, let us
from the great beyond.
Please write us, or please let us know if you're still around.
God, but yeah. So if you don't know what hyperextension,
it's great that we both caught that too, because we don't have a chance to like see a lot of that stuff because there's so much shit going on at these shows.
There is, and I mean that was so he's just this like super overarched guy just walking around and he's kind of like
the power lifters with the keg in the front. They got the belly, and then they start to develop some lats and stuff, and they get some quads, and the gait gets real short, and they get that powerlifting waddle going back and forth. They look like they're holding 2 giant briefcases. And the stomach is just protruding way out, and it looks like his back is killing him. Like he looks like he's permanently in a camel clutch or something.
It's true.
His stomach's sticking way out.
It's insane.
Chest is high, and he looks like he's just like leaning back.
He just looks like he's just kind of
he's
lean back this way, but knees are still kind of bent somehow.
Yeah. Because he can't straighten them.
To offset your belly. Your
he can't straighten them out anymore.
And then you throw your butt.
You see that a lot with powerlifters. They have the bent knees and bent elbows, kind of the whole time.
And he was talking to you, and then he was talking to you about his wife or girlfriend, and while he's talking to you, he goes like this. pulls his shirt up,
does a horrible burp
into his shirt, pulls it down, and then goes about talking as if like nothing had happened.
Oh, it was disgusting.
And I mean, I was watching it because I was just like, what is this guy's deal? And I was taking a picture because he looked hilarious. Which is probably what I'm going to be doing at the Arnold most of the time.
He's wearing a super tight shirt, and it was one of the grossest things I've ever seen.
So that's probably 2.
But you could see the burp coming on. We could see him pre-burp and not knowing where to put this burp, and then he fucking placed it inside of his shirt.
Which I'm not a scientician here, but I don't know how much this much of cotton is gonna block like burp, right? And I don't think a whole lot.
It had to be bad though.
Not good.
It had to be one of those like cheap chicken sandwich burps that you get when you have something that's got like a lot of like salt and nitrates in it and stuff. But it's just a really bad burp that just lingers, because sometimes they're disgusting. Sometimes they're worse than a fart.
Yeah,
it's like that came through your fucking mouth.
Who was that? Was your brother-in-law?
That was my brother-in-law. I was like, holy cow! I'm like, Jesus Christ! I'm like, next time you shit your pants, I'm like, let me know or something. You know, lift your leg or fucking roll down the window or in the car. And he's like, even worse, that was a burp.
That's so horrifying.
Like, I'm getting out of the car. I'm getting out of the fucking car right now until it clears out.
So hyper overextension pants is number 2 for me in the all-time list of lists. And your wife's boyfriend, Andy's boyfriend,
number 1.
That was in like the first. That was the first 3 Arnolds that I think
kid that was just like dripping with testosterone.
It was amazing. He just smelled so terrible. He had like 3 sweatshirts on, just pouring sweat the whole time.
He was just one giant pimple,
and it was like literally you're talking to him and like shit's popping on his face.
He's probably like, what, 15, something like
14, 15, and just, oh man, that was one of the, and he kept coming back and be like, hey, so, can you get me a deal for my son? And you're like, well, we told you how much it is. We're like, well, so-and-so down the way said that they'd be willing to deal with me like this. And we're just like, no, he kept coming back.
Was that the same Arnold?
Yeah, that was the same Arnold.
They were both there?
They're both there the whole time. They came back like 3 or 4 different times.
Oh my God.
And finally they caved in to Andy not caving in and just paid the money and then got out of there. He'll forever be known to me as Andy's boyfriend.
All of our fans are so fat for some reason. Even that kid was fat too.
But what I thought
and his dad was fat.
Oh,
I'm not fat shaming, but all these guys are fat.
That starts to makes you question like
Ohio.
Ohio, but also like where did these people come from? It's like out of what corner of what trailer home?
They either came from like Cleveland or Indiana. That's the consensus I get when I talk to these people.
It's fantastic.
Sorry, Indiana and Cleveland, but
what can you do?
That's what happens.
But he'll be, forever known as that. But what I was speaking of the audience, I sent you and Andy that picture of some girl on Tinder has a picture of herself.
I don't think my wife was a fan of that picture.
With Mark. And that's her like cover picture where you swipe right or swipe left.
Yeah.
I thought it was a brilliant move. The audience is like 96% dudes, right? So it's just like, oh, cool. She knows Mark Bell. She's into lifting. You're automatically going to, start to hit that pool. And, you're just going to get hit up by a bunch of, fat powerlifters. But still.
She's more fuckable because she knows me.
I guess. I mean, maybe it's like she's a little bit cooler. So at least you have something in common, I suppose.
So weird. I know. When you said that to me, I was like, that is really strange.
And then I showed it to someone and they're like, oh yeah, I went on a date with her. I was like, wait, you saw the picture of her and Mark and you didn't send it? You didn't tell me about it? He's like, it didn't cross my mind.
That's
great.
Like,
that's insane.
Subliminally, at least it did.
Something. Yeah. Come on. Yeah, it was amazing. But that was a fantastic picture.
So the burp inside the shirt is one thing. And I saw a new one.
Oh.
And you've probably seen this before, especially like going to all boys school and stuff. I'm sure you've seen some shit. BFT, Big Fat Tito, as I like to call him.
Yep.
That's his original name, and for some reason he calls himself Emilio. I don't know why he does that, but he
like. Do you think he's just an Emilio Estevez
I don't know. Mexicans
fan?
Do that a lot.
They just change their name.
Remember Juan? Like
yes.
For some reason he calls himself John. Like, dude, what is it? What's going on? What's your fucking name?
I think he was trying to.
And then he forever is named Juan John.
Yeah, exactly. That's
son of a bitch.
So can we
Emilio?
Can we talk about nicknames? I don't think people quite understand.
Oh, there's been some good ones.
There have been some. So let's talk this. Let's do Best nickname, worst
Should
nickname?
I talk through Emilio first before we get to these nicknames?
Yeah, go for it.
So BFT, Big Fat Tito, was kind of around the time of Big Fat somebody.
Big Fat everybody.
Or
anyone.
Or Big Gay.
Right.
There's, Big Fat this guy, Big Fat that guy. There's Big Gay Will.
There you go.
Big Gay Will, Gold's Gym.
He always comes.
Shout out to my
Big Gay Will.
Shout out to my boy Big Gay Will.
We'll see you at the Arnold, brother.
And then there was Big Gay John.
Yep.
Which is this John right here, Big Gay John, because for some reason he was obsessed with showing us his parts back in the day.
There you go.
I don't know why.
Did he have like some website that you told me that was just horrifying?
It was
it
great.
literally said, a bunch of it just said, don't click here.
It was him and Dr. Hymanbender.
Von Hymanbender.
Dr. Von Hymanbender. That's his buddy Spray. And all he'll do, nowadays.
Which is another great fucking nickname right there.
Nowadays, all he'll do is just deny. He'll just deny. But yeah, there was a picture of John on a toilet, which all this is probably, you could probably still find it all, because now these famous people got to.
He's going to stay around forever, for longer.
Yeah. He was on, and this is amazing, and I don't know why you and I don't have a photo like this, but he was on a toilet eating pizza with his buddy sitting on his lap, and he was eating pizza too.
I'm actually pretty proud that we don't have that picture, because if that was ever offered to us, I think we would have already done that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the guys were offered free pizza.
Yeah.
With pepperoni, and they were like done.
Dude, I got a new guy in the gym. He works at Zachary's Pizza, so I had to have a conference with everyone.
Is he hot?
No.
That's a weird question. Is he strong?
He's just kind of starting out, but I was more. I was more interested in making sure that he was going to be liked and accepted.
Oh.
Because I wanted him to start bringing in pizza, and it started today.
Oh my god!
He brought us our first pizza.
Pizza for breakfast.
Pizza for breakfast.
So BFT. We're doing some like circuit stuff on the turf the other day, dragging the sled and doing stuff back and forth, and he's doing pretty good with some of it. Out of nowhere, he needs to sneeze.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
So he fucking sneezes inside his shirt. You ever seen anybody do that before?
Absolutely.
That's fucking terrible.
That's just as bad as
But he's like,
else.
where should I, do I sneeze on the turf? I'm like, no, I don't want you sneezing on my fucking turf. But yeah, like I don't even know what the answer is. Block it or something. But then you blow your head off.
You kind of got to go into your elbow, I think. That's about it.
Into your shirt, like just seems like a bad move. But it makes sense, kind of, because he's working out. He's already gross and sweaty. Maybe
I've coughed into my shirt a number, especially when I was sick the past couple, this past couple of months.
Makes some sense because you're trying to protect everybody else,
right?
I guess sneezing, maybe the same thing. He's like, I don't want my snot to fucking end up all over the place.
Do you have like good lung? Can you like shoot a snot like real far? Like if you sneeze, you think it could hit like?
Nah, when we used to do that in football and stuff, like the snot rockets.
Not like snot rockets, but when you sneeze, if you really let it go.
Oh yeah.
For some reason, distance.
Yeah, for some reason, I have these sneezes that I cracked a rib sneezing before. Yeah, I ended up in the fucking hospital.
That was the peak of your athleticism right there when you sneeze and you fracture a rib.
Well, that was fucked up. I was, I like hurt something in the gym and I wasn't paying attention to it, and I went in the gym the next day and did good mornings, and I used to do good, we used to go crazy with good mornings. We'd use like 5 plates and chains, and we'd go nuts, and something didn't feel right that day, and then the next day or two, I went in the gym and did some bench press, and I think I might have, fucked something up a little bit there too, but when I was home that day, I think later in the day, I sneezed, and the sneeze fucking hurt really bad, and like almost brought me to my knees.
Never went away.
And yeah, it never went away. And just as the day went on, I got worse and worse, and I had to call Andy. Andy was at a play with her dad, and I was like, I don't know what's going on. I've taken a lot of shit in my life, and maybe I'm paying the price for it now. Maybe these arteries are all clogged up or something. I don't know what's going on.
Because it was like. It was high, and it was on this side, it felt like it was much higher.
Yeah, it felt like it was like, it felt like it was my heart or something. I mean, it was kind of dead center. It was a little bit more located dead center, but I don't know where the fuck my heart is. I don't know. I don't have any idea about any of that. I'm not a fucking doctor. I don't know what's going on.
What do I look like, a doctor?
Yeah, and so I went to the emergency room. Mr. Robot Pants came over and watched the kids, and I stayed the night, and I wanted to be honest. I wanted to be upfront with them, and when they took me in and stuff, they were like, "Yeah, everything looks fine, and all your vital signs look good." And I was like, "Okay, why can't I breathe? Why does my chest hurt and this and that?" And they're going over stuff. They're asking me about lifting and stuff, and so I tell them, I'm like, I've been on anabolic steroids the last whatever decade or something like that. and they just like make like a little note, and then somebody comes in and they're like, "You're gonna have to stay the night." I'm like, "Fuck!" I'm like, "God damn it! I guess I shouldn't have told them anything."
Or they just pressed a button.
But I just figured that it would be better. I'd be better off telling them, but they don't know anything about any of that shit.
No, I actually remember that because you sent me just a terrible text message.
I think I'm dying.
Well, yeah, I was like,
tell my kids I love them.
I'm in the hospital. I think I'm having something with my heart. I was like, what the fuck is that? And I was at the Monterey Bay Aquarium, and I ran outside and tried to call you, and then you're like, no, it's fine. It's like, don't send me a text message like that. That's the worst.
I'm kind of the king of that, huh?
You are.
Texting, and then someone calls, and I don't ever answer.
That's the classic Bell move.
God damn.
Where it's like, hey,
why do I do that?
Or you text, hey, give me a call, and then you don't answer the call, which is even better. Yeah. Which is just now you're confused. You're like, all right, maybe he'll call me back. Should I text him back? Or he just said to call, but is he going to call me back? Or, and I'm just like, all right, you know what?
John Anderson used to call me just to tell me to call him on another line.
That's good.
Call me on another line, bro. All right. I'm like, what? I don't understand.
I don't know.
How do I even dial this other number? I don't know how to dial anything.
What filter, or what the hell is John Anderson doing to himself? He looks more and more like a cartoon character.
He's got like midgets in his for traps.
For traps.
They're huge.
It's insane.
Yeah, I think there's got to be some synthol in there.
He looks so
He's
huge.
A friend of ours, but I think he's fucking cheating the system somehow.
I've never seen him look that big.
Now, my brother asked me, my brother's like, well, what changed about it? I'm like, well, nothing really. He's just doing more stuff with his shirt off.
Yeah,
and he's always been huge.
Yeah, maybe that's
my brother's like, well, maybe he's just, but he looks like from Bugs Bunny. He looks like the Crusher. Remember the Crusher came out and he fucking flexed and he was jacked and he made
muscles went on muscles.
He turned Bugs Bunny into like a hat or something. He wrapped them all around and fucking threw them out.
Yeah, but he looks enormous. But
the traps are going insane.
They're crazy.
Is he still wrestling or anything anymore?
I think he's just doing the bodybuilding stuff as far as I know.
Our boy John Anderson back in the day was a strongman athlete. He also had a powerlifting background. And he was doing some like insane stuff. He was like all conditioning type stuff. I mean, I've had him on the podcast before. Yeah. Deep Water. A lot of you guys know who I'm talking about. But it's been a little while since we've talked about it.
I got to for about almost 2 years. I got to train with him pretty fairly routinely on the weekends doing strongman stuff. And he would do stuff that just didn't make any sense whatsoever.
What I loved about him is remember he would say like you would flip the tire 5 times. God. I would flip the tire 5 times, and the next guy, and so on. And he would say, like, this tire is moving this distance, and if you're fucking out, someone else is going to move it. Because for us to be great, this tire has to go this far on this day.
Like, this is going to get flipped 20 times before we. And
he was super strict. Like
he was.
He wouldn't even let you train in the group. He was really like meticulous about it. I helped him get over to wrestle in Japan and stuff like that. And then we had a mutual person that we knew that we sent to him, Dane Kelly, a former strongman and powerlifter kid.
Yep.
And Dane was crazy, and Dane worked really hard. And John called me, and he was like, hey, he's like, who's this Dane kid? And I was like, well, I just wanted to see if you can take him under your wing. He's a young kid. He really loves strongman. I think at that time, Dane, squatted 800 pounds or something like that. It's like a teenager or something. The kid was insanely strong. And I was like, yeah, I think he has what it takes. And John's like, that's not good enough. He's like, what do you mean you think he has what it takes? He's like, he either does or he doesn't. And I was like, I don't know. I thought it wouldn't be a big deal. I helped put a couple $1,000s in your pocket by getting you over to Japan.
Right.
He's like, no, brother. He's like, this is everything to me. He's like, it doesn't work that way. He's like, this is exclusive group. He's like, I can't just let anybody come down here. And I was like, okay. Anyway, Dane went down there and Dane got killed and Dane was not invited back.
Yep. Yeah. I wasn't there that weekend, but I was told. But John was just a psychopath. And then a lot of times with those people who are, kind of leading everything and it's theirs. If you question it, or if you say, well, I'm not going to do this or what, it didn't matter. I was powerlifting. I was just doing strongman for fun. He's like, okay, we're going to deadlift, the car deadlift 700 pounds for as many reps as you can for 5 sets. It's like, whoa, I got a deadlift on Tuesday. He's He's like, no, you got to deadlift right now.
Yeah, and John had like world records.
Just didn't care.
He had like world records when it came to like deadlifts for reps in the shortest period of time.
He was amazing.
He did like 21 reps with 500 pounds in like 60 seconds or something weird.
He did. And then I saw him do 1,100.
I saw Larry Wheels do 500 for 17 recently.
He looks, his bench is just nuts right now too.
I mean, that was on deadlift.
Oh, deadlift.
He was flying. He
was
flying. He was flying with it. But anyway, 400 for what?
No. I saw John do 1,100 reps on a rear delt machine in a row. Oh he stopped
Why would anybody do that?
I don't know. It took him 20 minutes. We timed it.
What's a rear delt machine?
It's just like the fly thing where you do this thing is the opposite of the pec deck.
Oh yeah, when you go in there backwards.
Yeah, exactly. But he did it for 20 minutes straight, and he did 1,100 because he lost count.
I love that.
He didn't want to have he didn't want to make sure he wanted to make sure he did 1,000, at least 1,000.
I love shit like that. I love the fact that that's like a thing, like the rear delt. Like we need to devote an entire machine, and I know the machine has more versatility because you can turn the other way and hit up that pec deck. But somebody's like, hey, you know that little round circle that you have that's behind, like up above your tricep, kind of on the outside of your shoulder.
There's an orange slice right here.
Yeah, it's like we need to tap into that.
It's true.
It's like only if we had a machine where you can just. I mean, what kind of world do we live in when that's our problem?
I think it's a great world.
You got to get the teardrop in the quad.
You have to. There's if you're gonna step on stage,
got to get the horseshoe in the tricep.
Yeah, that was hilarious. Were you there when Brian was like, "Hey guys,
Shaw,
I got kicked by a horse"? And I was like, "What? Oh, where?" He's like, no, do you see? And I was like, no. He's like, you're the worst. Never mind. And he went over to like Vincent and tried it out on him, and Vincent was like, oh yeah, cool. I was like, you sucker. Like, come on, man. You can't let him win at that game.
Yeah.
You're 445 pounds. It's like you're gonna expect to be like striated through your arm somehow.
Brian loves
it was this big, but
he did a bodybuilding workout with me and O'Hearn, and he was so confused. He's like, this workout's terrible. He's like, I'm already tired. We're like, nah, that's how it works. Is like you get like a pump. He's like, I can't move.
Right.
We're like, yeah, no, that's the way you do it.
Yeah.
He's like, he wants me to keep going up in weight. He's like, I don't know what to do. I was like, just lift whatever you lift whatever you want, And he's like, this, and he just shakes his head. He's like, this isn't gonna look good. Oh,
for the video?
Yeah. Yeah, he's like, I gotta use 80. He's like, I gotta use 80-pound dumbbells. I'm like, Brian, it's a chest fly.
It's 1,000 reps.
I mean, a fly with 80 pounds is a lot of weight. Like, I'm gonna use like 20s.
Yeah.
Like, don't worry about it.
Yeah. That's amazing.
And he was just looking at O'Hearn so confused. But O'Hearn did show up really late, and he killed us because me and Brian already were like, I don't know, about 15 sets into some bench pressing.
And then he started all over again.
And then, O'Hearn, he's got the same routine. He always shows up late. He's always late enough to where you don't know if he's going to show up at all.
Right.
And then he does show up, which is like 45 minutes. That's like the sweet spot.
That's a long time.
Yeah. That's kind of
that's past fashionably late, and that's past like, oh, you're a bro.
You're like,
wait.
fuck, oh man, he's being a prima donna. He's not coming at all. And then because at that time, 20 minutes goes by and you're like, he's not showing up. We need to just move on.
Ship, get out of here.
Because otherwise, if he was 20 minutes late, then we all would have started at the same time.
Right.
And he already knows that principle. So if he's 45 minutes late, that's perfect because he knows you're going to be about 15 minutes into your routine already.
And then he can just smash all over you.
And then he can smash everybody. He comes in, he's all fresh and jumps right on the incline bench. And there you go. But he's strong. We were talking about speaking of Mike O'Hearn, his he's got several nicknames, Mike O'Tren being one of them. That's a pretty good one. Then his other name is Titan. That's a name he got from his the TV show he was on.
He
loves calling himself Titan.
Yeah, that's kind of the name that you give yourself though too.
Oh,
you can't give yourself a nickname. And it seems like that would be one that he chose for himself.
Yeah, like Jesse Big Dick Burdick.
Right.
Yeah, like that one never stuck.
That one really never took off like I thought it would. I was hopeful. But I have my best and worst from just like the ones that you and I know. Well, first of all, I think people need to understand.
Jesse's real nickname is Megamind, by the way. And there's obvious reasons for that.
But I think everyone needs to know nicknames. So nicknames are something that you just identify someone as and you probably will never know their first name, maybe even their last name.
Yeah, you might not ever remember it.
There was Lurch. So Lurch was trying to get some like security clearance.
I think Lurch is probably the worst one.
Lurch is
not the worst nickname, but it was a nickname where nobody knew his name. It's like an alias.
It was amazing, and it was so bad that the government came. I was listed as a reference. The government came to my house. It was like, "Hello, we'd like to talk to you about so and so." I don't know if I should mention his name or not. Like, we want to talk to you about this person. And I was like, and they said the name, like John Smith. I was like, "Who is John Smith?" They're like, "You're Jesse Burdick, and this is the address." And I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Wait, who are you talking about?" Like, he listed you as a reference. This is for like a security clearance for the Army. And I'm like, oh God. Yeah. John. Okay. Hold on a second. I had to explain to that person.
You have to put the phone down for a second and be like, oh my God, I'm talking about Lurch.
They were at my door.
Oh.
So there's this lady with a clipboard, like, super official and everything. And I was like, all right, please come in. I need to talk to you about nicknames. It's like, I have never called this person John since I met him. He's like, oh, hey, I'm John. No, his name is Lurch. I'm like, all right, Lurch. Like, that's it. And I don't know if I ever heard his name mentioned again. So nicknames really kind of, if it's a good one, it sticks and it stays there for forever.
Yeah, we didn't know with Lurch. We didn't know his name for a really long time. And once we heard it, we were like, huh?
And so
that should have been that guy. He should have got the name silent.
He should have,
because nobody.
Well, that's why we got Lurch, because no one even. We just go.
Yeah,
and he wouldn't actually talk.
He wouldn't say anything.
No, and said nothing at all. But he's actually a cop now, and I recommended him to a friend of mine at the gym to help get him through things. And I was like, hey, I got this buddy Lurch. I think would be great for you. And so now he's known as Lurch by like only a few people over there. And he's like, this nickname will never die. He's like out of powerlifting. He's not lifting much. He's kind of gone a different way. But he's like, this nickname is going to follow me forever.
How about how great the nickname was that Stan gave to people? And people didn't really realize he gave it to everybody. And they were so excited.
Biggs.
People would come up to me and they'd be like, Stan called me Biggs. Like it was I'm like Ed Cohn and stuff too, even. Right. And he's like, I can't believe he thinks I'm big. And I was like, I don't know how to tell I don't know how to tell all these people. He doesn't really remember their name. That's why he's calling them that. You're like, hey, Biggs.
He would, yes. Even, I mean, and I know him very well. He still calls me Biggs.
No, it's great when you send Stan stuff like, you just text him or whatever. He always writes back like, how would that help me?
Right.
Or how is this or he'll send back like, I don't know. Let's say you send him something. You hit a pretty good lift in the gym and you're excited. You send it over to him. He's just going to send you him squatting 900 pounds.
Yeah. It's not even.
And he's going to be like, hey, remember this?
Remember when I did this?
He just sends me that.
A plate on top of you?
He just sends me that randomly every once in a while. He'll just send me like, hey, remember this fucking stud came in your gym and squatted 900 pounds? And I'm like,
it's just like you sending me the picture of me missing deadlifting 856. It's just the same thing. So what comes around goes around. I think the worst nickname I've ever heard from you, Jessica Cunt.
Not for our current Jessica.
No. Oh yeah, shit. No. Not for current Jessica.
I thought that was a good name, and I thought it was appropriate.
I think it was completely appropriate, but that was like the probably the most offensive,
the most foul. I got to cover Jesus's ears.
Oh yeah.
His ears are bleeding.
I thought that was it was a pinpoint nickname, but I still think it was probably one of the worst there was.
Yeah. She lost a lot of weight, Jessica Brown.
That's awesome.
Yeah, she lost quite a bit of weight. And we've had a lot of just kind of stupid nicknames too.
Yeah.
Just because like Juan John, like it's not a great nickname, but it's just he called us, or he would always say his name was John to us, and then he would tell other people his name was Juan, and then he just got the name Juan John. But yeah, we've had some good ones over the years, and some people don't ever get one.
That's true.
Like Treston Scholl, like he's just Treston, and he's just disgusting.
Yep. He was T-Bear for a while there.
Oh yeah. He was,
but I mean, that's that kind of goes in and out. Not necessarily something completely.
There was
standard.
a lot of bears.
There was a lot of bears
because of the power bear movement.
Correct.
Power bottoms.
That was one of the most saddest days when you left that gym and you didn't bring the gift I got you. The welcome with the three bears, that wooden thing.
The little happy bears.
Yeah, the 3 happy bears that said welcome.
I don't even know what happened to those bears.
No, you just left it at the other gym.
Power bears.
I know.
We got to get more power bears going again. What the fuck else is going on?
I don't know.
We were talking about a little bit with that card that's coming up with Daniel Cormier is fighting.
Oh, yeah. He looked awesome at that last fight. And I love the fact that both he and Stipe took very little damage and are ready, willing, and want to fight all the time. I think that's a mark of a real champion one way or the other, because if you're going to run or wait for a matchup or anything along those lines, which unfortunately happens all the time. So we didn't necessarily get to see, I mean, that you got to think about it. If we go way back into boxing, the Tyson Holyfield fight, which is now infamous because he bit his ear, it took them almost like 6 years, I think, to try and get that fight because so-and-so is ducking so-and-so, or the WBC wanted him to fight these people.
You know, they were scheduled to fight once before, and then, you know, I think Tyson ended up going to jail, and you know, there's so much around all that. But you know, I was watching some old video of Tyson, and he's in the ring, and it's at the Trump Plaza, and so he's already Mike Tyson. He's already the baddest man on the planet, and he's in the ring with Kevin Rooney, and they're working on combinations and stuff, and he's just throwing the sickest fucking combinations, and he's so fast, and he's so explosive. And I know people listening to this are going to say, no way. But I think he's faster than Mayweather. Like, this fucking guy could move.
In his prime? Yeah.
He can move in some way. Maybe Mayweather is faster in his own way. Maybe his hand speed was faster or something. But Tyson can move more explosively than any athlete that I've ever seen. It was incredible.
It's a different movement, though, where Mayweather's
so
kind of like, you know, kind of here, back and forth, where his is just huge movements, too. They're covering a lot more ground.
Tyson's movements were stiffer, and they were, like, more deliberate, whereas I guess you would say Mayweather moves around a little bit more like a chicken. Right. You know, like he's like, you know, trying to have his head moving around a lot.
Yeah.
And Tyson was more like, no, I'm moving left, I'm moving right. Like, he would kind of move in a pattern.
But he would get there so fast as he moved.
Punches off all that.
Yeah.
And his footwork was insane too. But what I thought was amazing, and this is something that I think gets lost in the shuffle, is what an amazing athlete Tyson was. He was so explosive, and he was so fast and so powerful, but he's also performing a combination of things all at one time with tremendous coordination. And what I thought was the coolest thing is that he was getting coached on every single punch that he threw. So he would throw like 2 or 3 punches, and Kevin Rooney would stand him up, and he would explain, like, no, like this. And then he would do it again, and he's firing off some crazy shots. So I'm like, as I'm watching, I'm like, what are they trying to perfect or whatever? He looks like he's perfect already, you know?
And moving at such force and such violence to be able to hold somebody's pads and be like, oh, hey, you're this way a little bit.
I don't even know how he held the pads at all for him without
He had to
dying.
break that guy's hands or just injure him repeatedly. But I honestly think, and we kind of that's one of the best nicknames I've ever heard. Iron Mike Tyson, walking out with a towel with a hole in it. I mean, that is just the hardest motherfucker there was and
great.
Probably ever will be and is at that time of Tyson. It was insane.
When my wifey took me to see him in Vegas, he does like a stand-up comedy type thing, and it was cool. I mean, it was a little weird. It was a little like almost sad in some way, because you're like, oh man, this is the guy, he's the shit, but he's got this kind of gig where he's got to make money, right? Like, just life is happening, and it's like somebody's like, hey, Mike, you got to make money, and he's like, okay. The thing that he was doing though was cool. I mean, he did a good job. He did a good presentation and everything, but he got up there in front of everybody, and he's explaining, kind of his life story. And he's like, at a very young age, I became very determined. He's like, at first, I had no confidence. He gives you a little bit of that background, tells you how he had a shitty upbringing and everything. But he's like, then Customato, he woke me up. He got me motivated. He got me fired up, got me excited. And we both had the mission and both had the goal to become the youngest heavyweight champion in the world. And that pops up on the screen behind him. And then there's a little like box next to it, and it just gets checked off, and it goes bing. And he goes, that was 1983. Almost as if to say, like, oh shit, there ain't much left to do, because that was the main goal that we set out to do, to become youngest heavyweight champion of all time. And he fucking accomplished that,
He was 22, 24?
Yeah, I think he was. Fuck, I think he was like 21.
Really?
Yeah, he was super young because when he was going through.
Well, he's still a junior on most of those early fights.
Yeah, and he was a teenager a lot of times in some of those. Not his championship fights, but some of his fights earlier on. He was like 18, 19 years old. But he was. I mean, that was a good nickname. Mighty Mouse Johnson's a good nickname.
It is.
It goes along with. It goes along with how small and how fucking fast that guy is.
That guy's awesome. I don't know if I've seen again. Talk about speed. That guy is like just the last couple of his fights. You know, he's just so far outclassed everyone in that weight class. He's defended his title like 11 times, 10 or 11 times, which no one's ever done on the UFC. And I'm really pumped up to see Dana and the UFC start to be able to push him and try and get him some super fights because, you know, the guy's kind of wallowing in obscurity to a point. You know, he doesn't even get to headline sometimes, you know, some of his title fights because there are people who less talented but more popular. So
he's in that like Roy Jones Jr. category. Like Roy Jones was just kind of sitting there for a little while where there was like, he's just completely untouchable.
Just annihilated everybody at that point. And then it's again one of those things where who's going to fight him? You know, everyone wants to fight him, but you know, he's just going to like, well, I already fought you. He's literally cleaned that weight class out. He's fought everyone at least twice. Maybe sometimes, you know, I mean, he hasn't lost and I have no idea.
He's fighting TJ Dillashaw coming up.
Which should be awesome. But I mean, TJ looked great in his last fight to get that belt back. Not so great at the past two fights or the fights prior to that. But who knows what that was, whether it was a game plan or got hurt going in. Or
you never know with these guys.
No.
I mean,
because they're all hurt going in.
Have cracked ribs or broken hand or they have opportunity and they got to kind of take it. I mean, they do the best they can, right? They're no one's going through those 8 or 12-week fight camps unscathed.
Correct.
You know, and they're probably holding something from a previous fight. Yeah. And somebody calls them up 6 weeks out, 8 weeks out, and says, "Hey, you know, you're fighting. And what do? You're like, oh no, my pinky's broken.
Right.
I'm like, fuck you. Go on to the next guy.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where, again, him too, because Dillashaw's been around for a long time, so it's good to get some of the older fighters, you know, a lot of publicity, and hopefully, maybe they don't have to say yes to every fight after this. You know, maybe they can have something to kind of retire.
That would be a really good card though, because then you got Nunes and Cyborg going at it too, right?
It should be awesome. I think this. Nunes is actually is big. She's a big girl. So this will be the first time that Cyborg's going to really have someone who's about as physically, but not dominating.
Both really good strikers.
They're just really bigger chicks, and they both kind of have that mean thing where like when they hurt somebody, they like it makes them feel good about themselves, and they kind of smile about it. So it's it'll be really interesting to see. But with the Mighty Mouse thing, I don't see, always got to pick Mighty Mouse. And then, it's very hard to pick against Cyborg. And then, so, I mean, she's just so physically dominating that it's hard. It's really hard to pick against her unless the line was, completely upside down. Then you'd look at the betting line and try and take a chance on, Nunes. But
about Ronda Rousey being in fucking WWE.
This is like 8 years in the making, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's great. And what's even cooler is I think Dana's cool with it at this point. Dana White is cool with it. And I think it'll explode. And, hopefully it gives.
She's somebody that deserves to be looked up to. She doesn't deserve, I know that maybe when she was fighting, she wasn't the most sportsman-like person, but I think she's just like insanely competitive.
Yeah.
And so, everyone just the second that she lost, everyone just took a shit on her and like, see, she's not indestructible,
right.
And people get to be kind of mean. Like they want to see your demise. They want to see you fall apart.
The best example of that is that you've seen that 30 for 30. I hate Christian Leitner.
Oh yeah,
that is so good.
Yeah,
it's so good.
It's still tweeted like 30 times a day or something about how much people hate him.
I don't know if everyone's truly been as hated as Christian Leitner. And that if you guys haven't seen that 30 for 30, I hate Christian Leitner is fantastic. And both he and her, to a point, just really kind of owned it and just kind of went forward with it. They took it that people didn't like him, and they didn't care because they're going to go out there and do what they want to do. But I can't wait to see what the McMahons have in mind, and getting ready for Ronda, because I think it's gonna be a lot.
Yeah, I wonder
of
if
fun.
she's going to be there for a while. I saw Triple H wrote on Twitter that he basically said something like she's one of us, and that was kind of cool because
Right.
Being behind the scenes a little bit that I was, I kind of know what that means, and it'd be cool if she found a second carear. Like that'd be a great place to do it.
She was a judo artist, and I mean, she was a good athlete before she moved into kind of MMA. How long, best case scenario, is it going to take for her to kind of get her chops underneath her to be someone who is going to just be really good in the ring, and you don't have to really kind of baby her through things, because I think she's physical and she knows how to fall already from judo. What do you think? I mean, we haven't heard anything from her in I don't even know how long. So maybe she was getting herself ready.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine that WWE had her working with somebody for a minimum of probably the last month or so, if not a little bit more than that. She was probably working on her physique and stuff like that too, to stay in shape and everything like that. But I would also imagine that she has done some stuff with WWE before.
She did, yeah.
So they definitely worked on some form and technique there. And I've seen people learn it pretty well to where you can't tell that they're green. You can't really tell that they're new in like about an 8-month period. It still takes some time regardless of how much experience you have. But if you watched wrestling and you don't have any reservations about acting like a fucking idiot, which she may not want to
overplay things.
Like maybe she's not the kind of person that can get up and just fucking break dance in front of people randomly or something.
Like you.
If you have, So wrestling took me a long time to learn because of that, because I'm not that person.
Right.
I'm not, I'm a lot more shy than people would ever understand. No one ever believes me when I tell them that. But anyway, with her, I think she can learn it pretty quickly.
Yeah. That'd be interesting. So building on that nickname, Smelly, you took that, and then you were able to kind of create a whole different kind of character, and with Smelly and Jackass kind of almost on the same time. You create these characters to be something somewhat different than who Mark is, right?
Right.
How did that process come about, and how did you just kind of say, I'm going to go out as Smelly, and then I'm going to be this obnoxious guy just this heel.
Yeah.
And I always think it's great when a real heel, who really owns it and just loves that part of things. I mean, how did you get to that point?
Yeah,
where was the turning point for that?
When I was wrestling, Smelly was kind of the kid that snapped, that couldn't take getting made fun of anymore, and he was going to do any and everything to get you back times 100, so just basically just being a dick, trying to piss people off and trying to talk shit and that kind of stuff.
So you're an original troll.
Original troll. Yeah, and when it comes to when I worked with EliteFTS.com in their kind of infancy with Dave Tate, he wanted me to fuck with everybody, and I was like, oh shit, I was like, are you sure? Because I can do this pretty good. I was doing this for a while already.
I'm a professional.
Yeah,
I went to school for this.
Cracked the knuckles, and
here we go,
and got in there and really started to actually irritate people and really cause some legitimate problems,
Yes.
and people were fucking frustrated. But basically, he just had me go on Elite. And I was under the name Jackass, and nobody knew who I was. And I would just fuck with people. I would, just comment on something they had. Back then, it was more like threads, from what I can remember.
Yeah.
There was a Q&A, and somebody would answer a question, and I would just shit on it, or I would do whatever I could. Back then it was things were set up differently, but I do whatever I could to be like a nuisance, or because you couldn't really respond to a lot of the other stuff other people wrote, I would just write something on mine.
Right.
But that kept attracting people to read mine, because I'd always have some dirt, or I'd always say something about somebody. And then people started recognizing holy shit, this guy's at Westside.
Right.
This guy's actually in our gym. Who is this fucking guy? And they kept thinking it was Dave Tate forever. And
it was Dave to start, right?
Yeah,
and then it
Dave,
transitioned over to you because he couldn't handle it.
And
people were starting to get pissed.
Well, So he told me one day, he was like, don't worry. He's like, you could say whatever you want, because I'm not going to tell anybody who you are. I said, you're not going to tell anybody who I am. And he's like, right. And I said, you're not going to tell anybody who I am. And he's like, right. I said, okay, good. And so like I just started fucking with people worse. And then the second he got fucking cornered,
right?
He's like, "It's Mark.
It's Mark."
And I was like, "Oh my god!"
And that was like Chuck too, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You irritated Chuck somehow. Who would have guessed?
Well, no, I always got along good with Chuck.
Right.
Chuck was always Luckily, it wasn't him.
Oh, okay.
That would have sucked.
That would have been bad.
I walked in the gym one day and I had my knee. I don't know why, but like for the first 2 or 3 years of my powerlifting career as an adult, my knee was just killing me. I just had like remember I had those. I was back in the day. I had those Inzer knee sleeves with the Velcro thing on them, right?
Yeah.
And I used to wear those, but before I got those, I would just wear a knee wrap all the time. Like I would just wrap up the one knee, and I had this knee wrap. And while I was at Westside, I was having a lot of this pain, a lot of this like tendonitis. And I walk in the gym one day, and I show up at like a lot of times guys would show up around 8:30. Lifting would start around 9. I show up at like 8:15 in the morning on a Saturday. There's like 8 plates on each side. Music is fucking cranked. And Chuck Vogelpool's in there squatting with like a blue and green band on the bar. Like he's just going fucking crazy. And he's like preparing for the next lift, and he's just kind of sitting there. He's kind of resting, and he's starting to get amped up. And then he stands up, and I look, and I'm like, he's wearing my fucking wrap on his on his quad. And so like I'm not even thinking. I'm like I'm gonna I need to like start warming up. So I walk over towards him, and I just see the look in his eye, and I was like, "You need a spot?" I was like, "We need me to run the monolift?" And
right.
I was like totally ready to. I was like, "Oh yeah, might as well just tell him." He probably doesn't know. I just saw it in here and just thought,
put it on.
Doesn't belong to anybody or whatever.
There you go.
And I never got it back. I was like, I'm not, like, it's probably not a good idea to even ask.
Yeah, you just leave that alone and hope to find your own another new.
He's a guy that doesn't need he doesn't need a nickname. He's just Chuck.
Yeah, he's just Chuck. No nickname needed for that.
Anyway, that's all the time we got for today. You got anything else, Burdick?
We're all good, man.
Just want to tell everybody why you're so fat. Too fat.
It's it's a personal thing, but glandular.
Strength is never a weakness. Weakness is never a strength. Catch you guys later.
Oh.